Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Radcast on the topic of design, which is phase 2 of the 4-phase Radical Collective Intelligence. And I'm very happy and fortunate to be joined by Michael in Thailand. Michael, how are you today? Good to see you.
Doing well, Jamin. Good to be here.
Awesome, awesome. All right. So first, let me just kind of put some context around this. Let me do a little screen share here. Bear with me, please. All right. What I'm going to share is the context of all this, which is that of radical collective intelligence, aka the meta solution, aka the goose that lays the golden eggs. What are the golden eggs? All the solutions that we need for the world's most daunting problems. So, what is this amazing, seemingly magical capacity of the goose to lay these golden eggs? What's inside the goose? What's inside the goose? What's inside the goose? Let's open up that goose and find out what's inside. What's inside that goose are 4 stomachs, just like a cow. In the last video in this series, we talked about the stomach, or the phase 1, ideation. Now we're talking phase 2, design. That's where we're at right now. And this is actually a relatively straightforward conversation from the following perspective, is that, you know, I'm going to talk directly to Microsoft, but anyone in the tech sector can, you know, please consider yourself very much a part of this conversation. Please join the conversation, as we'll mention at the end. Microsoft, you own GitHub. Brilliant acquisition. I know $7.5 billion is a lot of money to spend, but really well done. Let's take GitHub and create, you know, let's work with the brilliant folks at GitHub and create the GitHub of solutions, of solution design. GitHub is arguably the best place possible for software design. Let's create something similar, a GitHub for solutions by solutionaries, right? And anyway, this is phase 2, the design phase of the 4-phase radical collective intelligence platform, but it's not just the platform, it's the solutionaries working on the platform. All right. So a GitHub for solutions. It sounds simple, and given that GitHub exists, it's an actually relatively simple extension of GitHub. Let me tell you what I mean by that exactly. So whereas GitHub operates on, speaking broadly and generally, operates on text files, files of compilable software code, the GitHub for Solutions, the design part of Radical Collective Intelligence, could operate, of course, on software files as well. Also on 3D CAD files for, like, you know, designing products which are, you know, either part of the solution or the solution. Not just the 3D CAD design files, but also manufacturing specifications. Because for the same product, you could have myriad different manufacturing specifications and designs of manufacturing processes. It could be either very manual or very automated or anything in between. So manufacturing design. All that for, you know, for man-made physical systems. Now, other things that need to be designed are the implementation of the thing, where the thing is, you know, whatever part of the solution needs to be implemented in the real world, in the physical world. Um, so you can have, so anyway, physical solutions or components of solutions that are physical can include physical systems, fusion power plants, for example, um, electric vehicles, arcologies, the architectural part anyway, physical solutions, metal tools for holistic land management. There can also exist policy solutions, right? What is the best way to achieve this at the level of governance and politics? Um, uh, Legal solutions, such as laws, lawsuits, et cetera, contracts, blockchain, et cetera. Cultural solutions, solutions that transform human culture. So design is by no means limited to physical solutions or or the subset thereof human made solutions. It can be any kind of solution, and in fact we need myriad solutions of all the different kinds I've mentioned. In fact, if we take a look briefly at the agenda, we see that we get into different kinds of solutions. So for example, solutions to abrupt climate change branches into, and these are just a few examples, there are many, but geoshading, fusion energy, why is that so important? Both really for two reasons. One is to replace hydrocarbons and stop spewing so many hydrocarbons into the atmosphere, or rather CO2 and methane, et cetera. And but also to generate essentially free electricity or virtually free electricity for purposes of powering the plants that will sequester carbon at a massive scale. That's kind of the for lack of a better word, the artificial way of sequestering carbon. The natural way of sequestering carbon is holistic land management. So we'll talk about that too. That's another solution. Political, cultural, and economic solutions. And then those branch out into the Hungerless Games, eliminating organized crime, which I've had the honor to lead the charge on here in the state of Washington, rallying the tech sector, which we're doing right now, our colleges and intentional communities. And I want to make a call out to our colleague, Michael Gosney, who's going to be giving a talk at the East Bay Sierra Club dinner September 27th in Berkeley, California, which I have the honor to chair. And he'll be presenting on our colleges and intentional communities. So September 27th for that. Sorry, I digress. I'm just talking about the richness and breadth of solutions, right? So many different solutions. And we'll talk about each of those in turn. But all of what's my real point here? My real point is that all of these solutions need to be designed. I mean, you could take your chances and, go on a camping trip without having a single notion of planning, aka designing your camping trip. Now, is your camping trip going to go exactly the way you planned? Of course not. It never does, right? So you design in flexibility and variation. By doing what? By packing 10 times the number of iodine tablets that you need, right? And twice the toilet paper, and 3 times the food, and 5 times the water, and so on, right? Anyway, but everything, to go well, it needs to be designed. To quote a very wise woman, prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Design it well, and you'll perform well. All of these solution areas need to be designed. Anyway, I think I've kind of beat that one to a pulp. Michael, you and I have brainstormed about this extensively. Love to hear your thoughts, and take your time. There's really no hurry at all. So it's not like last 5 seconds, cram it in. No, take 5 minutes. Take 5 hours if you want to. Really, this is part of the essence of collective intelligence, is sometimes we just let it flow. Speaking of which, I'm going to shut up. Thanks.
Well, there's something curiously circular about the relationship between design and say solutions, because On the one hand, a design just is a solution, at least a potential solution. On the other hand, solutions need to be, designed, developed, implemented, scaled up or down, whatever the case may be. And that's because there's an inherent feedback loop involved in the design of solutions. And in this case, the design of the meta solution, right? That which begets solutions, each solution in turn needing to be designed, right? And so with the focus on the design of the meta solution, that in essence is a platform, right? Or a network of platforms. And so, what we need are designers, and designers is a very broad, moniker, right? Design incorporates a lot of work people are doing. And so whether it's, the conceptual design of a particular platform or a more concrete design of a particular platform, or maybe it's the networking, between and betwixt platforms, or if it's the designs that people are coming up with on the platform itself in order to solve this or that set of solutions, right? So
exactly.
It's design, design, and even if a design isn't implemented in the short term, that becomes a part of the platform insofar as it becomes a part of the collective intelligence.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that last part, please?
Yeah, even if a design isn't implemented in the short term, it becomes a part of the collective intelligence. Right?
Exactly, because it may be implemented in the future. It may be mashed up with some new technology. How many designs from the 1800s that could never be brought to life once the appropriate enabling technologies happened in the 1900s and even 2000s? They're all over the place. Drones, right, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, or like Da Vinci's flying machines.
Yeah, well, there you have it. Drones, manned and unmanned, right? Drones and otherwise, or woman, or whatever.
Yeah. So I think it's very liberating to approach this as a designer. Whether, like I said, you are focused on the design of the meta solution, a network of platforms, or if you just want to, jump on the platform because you have a design that you want to, develop and implement in the real world, so to speak, as a set of solutions to a set of real world problems. But at this point, we're really looking to techies precisely because it's that kind of, technical design, the design of information and communication systems and technologies, artificial intelligence, or just, simply the design of, a particular part of a taxonomy, right? The design of the relationship between various problems and solutions.
Like we saw
back to the
brainstorming.
Yes, harkening back to the by Dr. Tony Caffrey. So, that's a design. That brainstorming design is something that we're seeking to now implement.
Exactly. One of many really cool ingredients that we're seeking to implement. We've already implemented video conferencing, and we've expanded upon that in the conversational domain, which is a subset of the ideation phase of radical collective intelligence. Building on what you were talking about, Michael, one thing came to mind as I was listening to you talking about the design of the meta solution itself, the design of the goose that lays the golden eggs, the design of radical collective intelligence. What came to mind is designing the designer. Designing the designer. That's what we're doing. And the designer here includes, as fundamental ingredients, the planetary community of solutionaries, which beckons to come together. The best way to lead a parade is to find a parade and walk in front of it. So the community of solutionaries, designing that community and designing its interactions, just like you design a camping trip, right? To say that you're designing a camping trip and you plan for, right, the comfort and well-being and safety of your girlfriend does not mean you're trying to orchestrate her every footstep. It just means you're going to be there to catch her if, heaven forbid, she should fall and misstep in one of those footsteps. That's simple. Anyway, so the extent to which we design the designer, design the platforms, design the community, that means plan for the well-being and creativity and communication and expression and freedom and power of this planetary community of solutionaries. We designed for that community to flourish. We design the platforms upon which that community can flourish, right, and attract more members, right? So that's what I mean by designing the designer, designing radical collective intelligence. It's not just designing the information and communication technology platforms, including the AI, the various layers of AI. It includes designing the community and designing the interactions between the two. So it is truly holistic design. It's not like, hey, let's put together this cool website and see who comes to it. We're actually designing the community of solutionaries. One of the elements is not just anyone can sign up. You have to apply to join Radish in our case. I mean, Radish is one platform of, or assembly of platforms for the implementation of radical collective intelligence. We are calling upon companies throughout the tech industry to either create their own platform, create your own platform for radical collective intelligence. And, you can incorporate the 4 stomachs that we envision for the goose that lays the golden eggs, or you can have 17 stomachs or 2 stomachs or no stomachs, whatever, right? But, design your own platform or network of platforms for radical collective intelligence, or B, participate in a collective design of platforms for radical collective intelligence. I mean, that's the big idea here, right? Is that we have open source collective design, a GitHub for solutions and solutionaries. So designing the designer, because that's where it starts to become circular, but in a very good way, in a spiraling way, right? And that ultimately leads to, as one of the topics indicates in the agenda, the exponential growth of radical collective intelligence. And so it turns this, dialectic between the designer and the designed, where we design the designer, right? It turns that into, I'm looking for the appropriate analogy, but when you swing, that harmonic resonance frequency that can, change the world. Anyway, it can exponentiate the power of the radical collective intelligence through this process. People come in droves. People are applying in droves, and and the application process is actually then becomes an opportunity for us to design the experience of joining Radish. Why not, right? And designing the filtering process. If someone wants to come just to be a naysayer, That's the kind of thing that could really slow down progress. As a bunch of polite people, listen to the naysayer while they just do harm, basically. We need positive thinking people, positive thinking solutionaries, thinking that, you know what, and that's not to say blind faith that, we can solve anything and everything with technology. Heaven forbid. We're using technology in very specific ways, right? The more holistic and natural, the better, but sometimes emergency interventions requiring high tech, like geoshading, are simply necessary, right? Anyway, I'm kind of digressing, but what an exciting topic. Designing the designer. I feel like we're breaking new ground. And, that's one of the cool things about these conversations is we don't have them planned out what we're going to say, right?
We do in part, but it's only in having the conversation, right? That what's being left out, or perhaps you don't know until after you've finished it, and then you go back and have them do a meditake, right? Fill in the blanks, the missing pieces. What you're saying about designing the designer reminds me of a well-known Canadian designer, Bruce Mau, who says, it's not about the world of design, it's about the design of the world. The design of a whole world.
That's it. That's what we're ultimately seeking to achieve, is the design of a whole world. But for the design requirements, we're not asking ourselves, we're asking the whole world. Humanity. Yeah. Well, you have basic human needs and you have these other needs, right? Where they're
holistic, yeah. It's the community of designers, right? But we need to we need to design, not just the two of us, but potentially anybody who's listening to us now or will in the future, to design a platform for that community of designers to come together.
That's it. That's our task right now. And part of us designing that platform is, well, if we're so busy designing the platform, why are we out on the street performing? Some of us on the first week of September. It's to attract the community, right? And to then have even more designers to help us design the platforms, which in turn will attract even more community, which in turn will be able to build a better V2 of the platform, which in turn will attract more community, which in turn will help build a better V3 of the platform. See, before that, building and that community were largely disconnected. How many times has Facebook put up a request for its membership, right, to design its platform? That's exactly what we're doing, right? But not just design it, in terms of software design, but designed it in terms of simply joining the process of talking about, the topics about which you're most passionate. And it's not about, what degrees you have, which are like peanut butter spread very thin. The topics about which you're passionate are highly correlated with ones for which you possess a lot of expertise, though you may not consider it as such. Like that professor told me once that expertise exists on the head of a pin, right? So we need to bring together all of the the heads of pins, so as to not say pinheads, the heads of pins of expertise spanning the world, and some orchestration, some combination of those heads of pins are required to crack a certain nut, solve a certain problem, be it geoshading or deacidifying the oceans or what have you. Wow. Well, we've covered a lot of great ground. Let's just do a quick review of it. We, of course, started off as we always do on this series by talking about The goose that lays the golden eggs. What's inside the goose? We get inside the 4 stomachs. The second stomach is design. And we had a lot of cool things to say about that. So what a great conversation, Michael. Anything more to add? Go on mute.
Not at this time. We'll fill in the gaps later. Maybe we'll do a Meditake.
Well, you know, we can do that's a great idea. Meditake on this is a brilliant idea, as is just starting a whole new series. And that's where we need your help. Designers, like that show on cable television from the early 2000s or something. Designers. Anyway, this is our call to designers of all kinds. All right. Michael, great to see you, and look forward to seeing you next time. And thanks so much to you all for watching and participating. Please participate by submitting your questions or comments onto this YouTube video. And we will be filtering really only for constructive stuff. It can be a constructive criticism. It can even be a challenge. Absolutely. Challenge is welcome, right? But, you know, no poison. No poison. Right? No hatred, no hate comments, no, you know, anyway, you know what I mean. It's like the definition of pornography. I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. Anyway, great to see you, Michael. Great to see all of you, and look forward to your comments and participation and questions. Thanks so much. See you next time.